Hey, business owners, are you thinking about the cybersecurity of your business? I didn't think so. Because as a business owner, you have a huge responsibility to your clients because you store their personal information, including credit card information. And the facts are that a cyber attack isn't about if, it's about when. Unfortunately. But we know this can seem a little overwhelming. Like I'm getting overwhelmed right now. But no worries, we've got you covered today. We've got cybersecurity expert John Hansman, who will be sharing his best practices on how to put the necessary security measures in place. Yeehaw, and not be nerdy. Like he used those words earlier. He's not the nerdy. We're not going to make this nerdy, right? Right, John?
No nerdy.
Okay, no nerdy. Okay, just want to make sure we're confirmed on that. So I'm awesome, Angie Ingstrom.
And I'm Gitte Oetgaard. And just once again, welcome to Momentum Makers podcast, John. We're so thrilled you're here and you're dropping all this great advice on cybersecurity. We're excited to share it with our audience. So welcome, John. We're happy to
Thank
have
you.
you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Great, thank you. Now, I just want to start by mentioning your bio for those of our audience who don't know you already. John is a cybersecurity expert with more than 20 years of experience. He's the CEO and he's also the founder of Truit, a company that helps small and medium-sized businesses with cybersecurity and IT services. And he's actually also a best-selling author. So we would advise our audience to just listen up as John will probably be dropping a lot of nuggets. So stay tuned for this show. We're excited for it. So once again, welcome and let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yes. Well, thank you, John. Give us in like 10 seconds, like what is your business? And then we'll get into your story.
Yeah, so I started out as an IT, just a plain IT management company, which means that we were initially like a tech support company. So companies would hire us to just be on call, show up if needed, take care of printers, scanners, mice that don't work right, those kind of things. And Truit has really become a cybersecurity focused IT management company. So what that really means is that we actually build comprehensive cybersecurity plans for small businesses. And then we take care of all the other mouse related tech support stuff as well.
Nice. Cybersecurity first, and then you can also handle
Cybersecurity
all the
first.
rest.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice. How on earth did you get into that? Tell us your story.
Well, funny. So I actually spent 20 years in electronic security. So this is, think about ADT, that type of business where you do home security, fire systems and stuff like that. And I actually ran a 24-hour monitoring center I worked there for 20 years and I did the management of that building and that facility for about 12, it's like 12 or 13 years, where I was in charge of the 24-hour operation, staffing, equipment, all of it to make sure that we had redundancy and we could keep things moving regardless of the situation.
Wow.
So yeah, so I hit the place that a lot of entrepreneurs hit if they're older because I rebooted myself 35. I figured out that my business that I was working for wasn't going to help me meet my goals. They weren't going to pay me what I needed to make or what I felt like I was worth. And so I actually went to see a career counselor. And the funny part is that what triggered it was a friend of mine who was a pastor. He hit a reboot, same time in life. He had been doing pastoring of churches for 20 years, and he said the same things that I was saying, which was, I don't know what I can do. I've only done one thing. So he went and saw a career counselor, and he went from a pastor to a rocket engineer working for one of the big rocket companies. So he actually builds, I believe he's doing engines for rockets currently. And that inspired me to just look internally and figure out what I could do. So I saw a career counselor who helped me kind of make the jump.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love to hear that. Oh, that's awesome. Ah, and that and because when I think career counselor, I'm thinking back to high school. This this is clearly not that. It's
No, this is she. I mean, kind of maybe she filled out we filled out a lot of forms. We did a lot of personality tests. She asked a lot of questions like, "What do you love to do? What are the types of things that just make you excited?" And then at the end of this, after like 3 weeks of meeting once a week or twice a week, she gave me a list of things that would fit me as a person. Like, what are the kind of things in your that I could do as a career that I'd enjoy and make money at?
I
And
love it. I love it. And so you pretty much nailed it, right? You made this, tell us about that jump. Like, how did you jump from being the job person to now you own this business?
I did what they call moonlighting, which means I worked 40 hours a week for my employer. And then I would get off work at 5 o'clock, and then I would go see clients, or I would, schedule. I had a scheduling software on my website, and people would just schedule appointments with me. I did quite a bit of residential consumer type work to get started, but I was at one point I was making enough money part-time that I covered my salary. Like I was making in part-time hours what I was making full-time. And at that point, I was meeting with a coach who really like looked at me in the eyeballs and said, "You realize like if you quit your job and work full-time, you could double your money, right?" I was like, "Oh, that's a really good, that's a really good point."
It's so
So
easy like to overlook these things when you're in it. Yeah.
very much so. And because he was there, and he had permission to speak into my life. He forced me to pick a date, and he said, "Okay, great. So let's get a date on the calendar. Let's put it into, you're going to give your notice here, and you're going to, go through the process." And so I quit my job September of 2019.
Ah, ah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
So cybersecurity, was that sort of a focus from the beginning, or
it
when did that
wasn't.
happen? Hmm?
It wasn't. So over the last, my IT business is about 7 years old. I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing the IT side about 7 years. And one of the things that I've noticed over the last 7 years of just working for businesses primarily is they don't have everything that they need for cybersecurity. They you don't know what you don't know. And especially smaller businesses, they're just scraping by with the knowledge that they have in their expertise. And they just don't really think about infrastructure. They don't think about the way criminals think, or they generally don't know about cybersecurity incidents until it happens to them or it happens to a friend of theirs. And so uh, over the last 3 years, we really started to transform our business into a cybersecurity company, and really focusing on, we were already providing services that were focused around that, but really flipping our business model over to one that we are always focused on cybersecurity, and really putting an emphasis on that, and looking for client partnerships that agree with us that they need to take appropriate steps to protect their business.
I'd love to learn a little bit more about that flip because did something happen? Like, was there what? Because that was the firm decision where you're at some point, it sounds like at some point you just said, okay, let's focus here on cybersecurity.
Yeah, I mean, from a business standpoint, I had started to make changes to my pricing and starting to find products that made more sense. Customers were demanding or looking for like filtering and training and things like that in regards to cybersecurity. And this was like right after COVID started to settle down, and COVID really amped up cybersecurity problems. If you really think about pre 2019, before I was in the industry, up. I think COVID happened, everything was starting to shut down. And then really in 2021, 22, we really started seeing a significant increase in cyber attacks, like pretty big ones that are making the news. We're talking, you know, cybersecurity incidents going up 300+% in like 3 years. Insane numbers. And so I started looking for ways to do that. I started to look at packages or building things as you do as a business owner. Like, what are the things my clients are asking for? And let's go ahead and give that to them at the head end. And then I happened to find a coaching program that had similar values to what I was looking for. And they helped us structure and create a cybersecurity first mentality. And they gave us all the tools to make it happen. So when I met them, it really made me like kind of just open up my eyes, like, yeah, we need to really focus in on being a cybersecurity focused IT firm. There's still a lot out there that are not, and they just do the bare minimum, or they do good, better, best packages. And I've always wanted to be more of a high level boutique, if you will, IT company, where we come in as a professional and tell the business, look, we've done a risk assessment of your business. This is what you need to protect your business for the industry that you're in, the type of business you do, you know, and scale that product to the business. You know, a consumer like a store doesn't need the same cybersecurity as a bank. They're completely different, but they don't know the difference. They don't know what the requirements are. They don't know, you know, for like accountants, FTC safeguards versus HIPAA for medical versus, you know, SEC for, you know, they don't know all that stuff. So our job is to know it for them and come in and build them a plan that gets them compliant, meets insurance requirements, and lowers the risk of having a catastrophic attack.
Okay, so if a company approaches you wanting you to help them with their cybersecurity, do you have a checklist for doing that, or certain steps you take them through, or how does it work?
Yeah, so with us, really, most everything starts out with like a cybersecurity risk assessment.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, and this is one of those things that's kind of fun. Like, most people aren't doing this, or they're doing a very limited version. We do a comprehensive risk assessment. And the reason why we do that for the client, or suggest that they purchase that service from us, is it's kind of like getting an X-ray of your body if you have a problem. Or maybe you're doing an annual checkup and you decide, I'm going to go ahead and have the doctor do blood tests and do all these different things. And until you get that blood test, you really don't know the status of your body. Like, that's why, you know, I'm 40 now, over 40 now. So now they're like, well, we want to, you know, do a blood test every year and all of that. You don't really know really how good or bad your body's doing until you do. That's why doctors do it. In the same way, from a cybersecurity perspective, we want to dig into the organization and figure out what's the health of their business from a cybersecurity perspective. Are they doing employee training? Do they have simple things like two-factor on? Are they saving their passwords in Notepad or on a sticky note on the front of their computer or something like that? That's a risk. And then we give them a comprehensive report at the end and give them what it would look like for us to manage that cybersecurity plan for them and take care of their business.
You mentioned passwords. What do you recommend for password management?
So we definitely recommend password managers. So our favorite currently is Keeper, is the one that I like the most. LastPass is another one that's very popular. There's a number of them out there. And I think that the important thing is that they have what they call a zero knowledge architecture. Now we're going to get nerdy for like 2 seconds, so just hang out with me for a second. Zero knowledge means that the company does not keep the raw data unencrypted on their servers. In other words, when your password gets stored onto Keeper or LastPass, it's encrypted and they don't even know the key, only you do. So cyber criminals can't get that information even if they try. So they can hack their servers, and LastPass had a cybersecurity incident. And because of zero knowledge, all the criminals got were like maybe some names and email addresses, but no passwords at all. So having that type of system where they don't keep passwords in raw data form is super important. And most people don't realize that browsers do. They're not encrypted.
Big point. Oh, thanks for sharing that.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is valuable. Yes.
So now,
Definitely.
okay, does your company go like, so where my brain is, does your company go in and actually clean up their passwords? Like, because that's a lot of work to move all that
No,
over.
so we let the apps do the work. So for
Gotcha.
example, we provide Keeper for all of our clients, so all their staff get it. We migrate their passwords over to Keeper, and then we shut off the browser part of it and make Keeper do the work. And the beautiful thing about things like Keeper LastPass, they will create passwords for you going forward. So you don't even have to think or, spend around time making up passwords. And all you have to remember is just your one password. For example, my Keeper password is not 1234, by the way. The word password. Only I know it. And it's only written down in one place that my wife and I know about.
Gotcha.
So it's in a safe place so that if something happened to me, she'd be able to get into the stuff that controls our business.
Exactly.
But beyond that, it's not written down anywhere. So only I know it. And that one piece of paper, that one place has that password. And then I have a way of resetting it that's also secure in a different location. So I only have to know one password, and then all my other passwords, which are complex, you wouldn't be able to remember them anyways because they're just made up letters and numbers and stuff. All those sit in Keeper and Keeper manages all of that for me. So it's the best way because who's going to what happens is when we try to do it ourselves, even if we use a piece of, I can't tell how many times I've seen spiral notebooks with passwords, like that's so common. But people do like rendition. So they'll do like, Redbird 1, and then they'll go to another software online and go, well, let's just do Redbird 2 so I'll remember what it is. And so then they'll be like, so then they forget their password. They're like, well, it's got to be Redbird 1 or Redbird 2 or Redbird 3 or Redbird 6. I'm not sure which. Well, the problem with that is criminals realize that behavior. And if your password shows up on the dark web and it's now out in the open, all they have to do is know you use Redbird a lot, and they will eventually figure out your password pretty quick because they'll just try renditions of it. Oh, we'll just add an exclamation point to the end, that kind of stuff. So having a complex password is huge. It's something that everyone should be doing, and they should be using a password manager to help them.
I love that. That's a brilliant message. That is so needed. And I like, because I think a lot of people, and you tell me, because this is your business, do they use the browser, usually just let the browser save it and then
yeah, they do. And the thing is, like when we do risk assessments, I have a tool that swipes passwords, and we will generally show the client a asterisk version of their password. And sometimes it's like the first letter and the last letter, and and then all asterisks, and they're like, oh, I know what that password is, right? And they're like, and it's common. I can, because I do it enough, I can see how many people use the same one over and over and over and over again. It's very common. So we recommend not doing that, because if I can go in and I'm a like trustworthy, safe guy, if I can go in, run a piece of software to take passwords and deliver them back to you for your assessment, what can a criminal do if they get access that and they're actually really trying to steal data?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. I love this. Business owners out there, anybody out there, wow, what a powerful message to make sure you got.
Yeah.
Okay. Password manager. What other tips you got for us?
Oh, well, along with passwords, we recommend two-factor. That's like the thing you hear every IT professional talk about over and
Ah,
over again is making sure that you have your online accounts, particularly set with two-factor. So when you put in your password, your correct password, you get a text message that says put in this code. We're recommending that people actually move towards applications or things like there's Authy or Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator instead of text messaging, because we actually are seeing cyber criminals actually be able to steal the SIM cards or be able to access and get people's SIM information and transfer text messages to them. So they're getting sneaky, and
Oh
so
my,
applications are a really
mm,
fantastic way to actually solve that problem instead.
that's a great tip. Oh my gosh.
I know
Yes.
it gets
Wow.
scary when you get down the dark hole, especially
Yeah.
if you think about it too much. Like, there's on my Facebook page, I posted a link to a 60-minute or like a video talking about, if you remember, was it 5 months ago, the Las Vegas Grand, MGM Grand, the chain in Las Vegas, like got shut down from a ransomware attack.
Oh
And
man.
they did a really good talk on 60 Minutes about the group that was responsible for it. And just long story short, like it was actually Americans teaming up with Russians to pull this stuff off, which is crazy because we used to live in a world where we would say, just listen to an accent and you would probably know that it's a criminal, right? Uh, that's or look at bad spelling, things like that. And that's really not the case anymore, because now Americans are actually doing the same stuff, because it's a $1 trillion industry now and people are making money at it.
yeah.
So I mean, really what it comes down to, excuse me, is making a plan, especially if you're a business. Having an actual plan and practicing it with your staff and knowing what that plan is key. So that means that you do what we call them tabletop exercises, where you sit down and you say, okay, so we just had a ransomware attack. What do we do? And everybody knows their job and everybody knows what to do next. And while the IT department might do a lot of the work, a lot of the heavy lifting, the CEO knows we got to call the insurance company, we need to call a lawyer, and they get the ball rolling with all of that stuff in conjunction with the IT department beginning the disaster recovery plan. Just knowing, it's just practicing. Like, think about, it's like fire drills. Think about like when we were growing up and we went to fire drills. If no one ever did a fire drill and the fire alarm goes off, it's like Kindergarten Cop. Remember the movie? Like the first time they went out the building and they're like, screaming and it's crazy, versus he practiced with them over and over and over again. And the next time they walk out like marching champs from the police academy.
Yeah.
It's that same idea. Like, without a plan, something negative happens in the world is chaos, or it's just really scary. But if you work with a company like ours and you get a plan together, it's not going to be unstressful. Like, it's going to suck. Like, it's going to be not
Right.
fun, but you know what the plan of action is, and it takes this weight off because everybody knows what to do. And we have a plan. We know what's happening next.
That's
And
a
that's
wonderful point. Yeah. I was
Mm,
yeah.
going to ask what are some things that would be in that plan?
So, okay, so this is where it gets complicated and why we have a business,
Right,
because
right.
of
Let's
your
give us
size of
the
it.
simple side. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're like 5 people, are your computers backed up?
Okay.
Is your data backed up? Do you know
Mm,
how to properly reset your passwords in your email product if somebody compromises it? Do you know what the steps are if you have an email compromise, which are really common?
mm,
It's those types of things. Do you know how to restore data on a server if you're a bigger company? Like, where's all that data stored? What if one of your backups gets compromised? Do you have a second offsite not untampered with backup as well. Like there's just those types of things that you have to plan ahead for. And each type of incident has a different plan. That's why it's easier if you have like 10 employees or more, call a company like ours or call us, and we can create a plan and do all that work for you. So really, if something happens, it's a matter of you call the help desk and we go, okay, disaster recovery plan, you know your 4 things you need to do. We'll take care of our part.
I love that. Thank you
How
for
much
existing in the world, John.
right? How much easier would it be if you can just make a phone call and go, okay, you know your steps, we're gonna go do ours. I listened, so I live out in I'm in Eastern Washington right now. I live in both sides of Washington State. And there was a college out here that had a cybersecurity incident. I think it was Whitman had a cybersecurity incident, and their chief information technology officer did an interview on a panel that I watched. And this guy literally he did exercises with his staff. This is a huge college, right? So it has not just a little bit of staff, it's got a lot of staff in different departments. And he practiced all of that with all of the different team leaders. And they had a critical incident. And he said, yeah, like I said earlier, it sucked. It was not fun. But every department knew their job. Every department knew what to do. So there wasn't a chicken with their head cut off mentality. It was like, okay, you know your job, let's go do our jobs. And they were able to contain the event and recover from the event fast enough that the guy got promoted later. Most people do not get promoted after a cybersecurity incident.
Oh, what a neat story.
That awesome. Really goes to show, like, he really doubled down on practice and planning, and it served him in the long term.
Awesome. I love that.
So good. Yeah, really good. So now sometimes I guess when you're talking to people about cybersecurity, they're just like, I'm not really sure. So what would be the main reason why they're holding back?
Money.
Okay.
Honestly,
that's fair.
I think that's the biggest thing is that when you look at cybersecurity, you have to look at it as a risk management tool. And it really comes down to the same way that the average, unless you're a millionaire, and even them, they generally don't buy insurance. But us regular people, we buy auto insurance because I can't afford to wreck a $40,000 car and just write a check. Like I don't have that sitting around, right?
Right.
What business owner has $200,000 to $400,000 just sitting around? And when we look at part of the book that I wrote a chapter in was about the cost of a cybersecurity incident. That was my chapter that I co-authored. And when we did a lot of research, you take like a dental office, for example, a dental office can bring in anywhere between like $9,000 to $30,000 a day. And if they're down for 20 days, which is kind of the average with a bigger attack, think about the amount of money that they lost. MGM Grand lost $100 million in their cyber attack. So you take that in scale, how big they are, and the average cyber attack costs a business $200,000 to $300,000 to $400,000, depending on their size. If they're small, if they're big, it can be $1 million, right? And so we're looking at this as if we can do risk management. In other words, we put tools in place that just limit the blast radius or the possibility of a cyber attack. That's a win. Now you're not paying out that money because the cyber attack wasn't successful. But then there's like, okay, what if it's a brand new, exploit? It's a brand new virus, whatever, and it gets through our stuff. Like it's so new. They call that 0 day. It gets through all of our tools. Generally, you have to go to your insurance company to get that paid out. Now, I'll have to make a disclaimer because I have to. I'm not an insurance broker. I'm not an insurance agent, okay? But when it comes to cyber insurance, if you don't have, like, they make you fill out like up to a 10 or 15 page form with all these technical questions that most, business owners don't know how to answer. If you answer those incorrectly, like wrong, or like you lie on them, oh yeah, I've got that stuff, and you don't, the insurance company can say, yeah, we're not going to cover you. So you got to eat that $200,000 to $500,000. So what we do is we help our people make sure our clients actually have the right things for their insurance company to cover them in place. So say it all, they still get through. Your insurance company goes, well, looks, they had cybersecurity awareness training. They had adequate virus and, protection. They were saving their passwords in Keeper. They were monitoring their email system. They were doing all these things, and it still happened. Yeah, that's reasonable for us to pay out. And you get your claim covered versus somebody who's on the opposite end. And they're like, yeah, you didn't really do anything to prevent this. We're not going to pay. and they have to, if they're going to stay in business, they have to be a little bit more picky about what they can cover and what they can't.
Right. Oh my
Mm.
goodness. This is
So your customers are they're actually saving money by hiring you to cover their cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's true. They can, especially if they have an incident. And I mean, I'll tell you, we ward off cyber criminals on a regular basis even with our smaller client base, because we're a smaller family-owned company. Even with our smaller footprint than some of the really, really big companies, we're warding off cyber criminals on a regular basis from our clients. And we're preventing, catastrophic things from being a catastrophic thing. Like, we're doing that on a regular basis. So we are saving people money if you look at the what ifs. But then you look at, most business owners don't know how to plan, like, oh, I'm going to grow my business. I'm going to move into a new building. What are all the things I need to think about to make that happen effectively? Or I'm going to go from 5 staff to 25 staff. What are the things that we need to think about to make this transition smooth? There's a lot of other moving parts to IT management that isn't just the cybersecurity part, but the day-to-day, how do we make life better and easier and make technology work for our clients? And so that's another key thing, that when you look at it, there's a difference between a cybersecurity, like pricing, there's a difference between a cybersecurity client and a not. Like, there's a price difference. But we do all that. Plus, we ensure that the customer has, adequate cybersecurity.
I love that you cover so many different angles of the security stuff. Because, like employees, like companies that have employees that kind of come and go and they know passwords and some of that data. Like, I assume that's all part of the plan, is to have safeguards around all of that.
Yeah, we do. We help with offboarding and then protecting. And I've even had a client recently who had a ticked off employee who wiped her, like literally deleted every email in her mailbox before she left.
Oh my gosh.
Like, and she tried, but the cool part is that I have those emails stored off site in a whole different thing. So I pushed 4 buttons and all the email was back after she was gone. And the owner was like, that's amazing. Like, he watched the emails grow in front of his eyes. And he was like, that is the coolest thing in the world.
So
it's so
valuable.
cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
John, that's awesome. That
Yeah.
is so awesome.
Yeah.
Gosh, Geety, anything else? Like, I love the stories. I love your background. I loved all the tips you've shared. So valuable. So tell us, like, is there any last comments that you want to make before we wrap this up? 'Cause I think we hit a lot.
Yeah, I think it, really again, this goes back down to planning and knowing your business, and just, being a good business owner. I really do believe means that you have to make, hard decisions. And some of that is, I'm going to have to spend money in an area that I don't really want. Like, who wants to pay a company X amount of money for tech support? Like, I get that. Some people do, because they realize like, oh, this guy's going to save me a ton of time. But I really think that business owners need to sit down and think about risk versus reward, and have a real conversation especially if they're over 10 employees. Could we possibly have an incident that could put us out of business? Because statistically, they're saying 60% of businesses that have a catastrophic cybersecurity attack don't exist in 6 months.
Wow.
So literally you're talking about, a business that can go under completely after a cybersecurity attack. And it's like, is saving a couple $1,000s a month worth losing everything? Like that's the thing is like, we sound like we're doom and gloom, but we're really not. We're really about risk management and helping businesses not have to, worry about that stuff, and really allow them to focus on doing what they do best and give them back the time and the mental energy that it takes to run a business is already extensive. Why waste the mental energy of thinking about these cybersecurity things when you can have a company that just does it and knows their stuff and can take care of that? So, my advice for every business, would say 10 or more employees, do a cybersecurity risk assessment. Pay for one, get a real one done, especially if you're in finance or you collect personal information, you're in medical, you need a risk assessment and you need to know what your business stature is. I think that's the biggest thing. And I can email it to you. There are some free resources. The Federal Trade Commission, for example, has a whole list they have a good book that I like to give out that is just basic cybersecurity tips. They have a full book that you can get for free that really spells out. Say you're under 10 employees and you're like, yeah, John, that doesn't work for me. There's a book that can help you kind of get started. And I think we all have to start somewhere, even if it's good password management and two-factor identification. Like those two things alone significantly, decrease your risk. And then as you grow, put a good culture of cybersecurity in place with training and all of that stuff.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you,
Great
John.
advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, for listeners, gosh, if this is resonating with you, John, where could they go to get more information about what the services you provide?
Yeah, I'm going to give out 2 addresses.
Okay.
So one of them is just our just regular website, which is Truit. You can see it on the screen there, truit.io. And you can look through our website. And if you click on the connect with us page or whatever we have it called on there, you can reach there. The other thing you can do is go to cybersecuritystrategysession.com, cybersecuritystrategysession.com. That will actually get you directly to my calendar, and you can literally go on and you can get on my calendar and you can just schedule a 30-minute free assessment with me, and I'll just do a strategy session where we just talk about your business and kind of figure out what your next steps are based on what we talk about. And let's get you pointed in the right direction. That's good for any size business, just to say like, okay, here's where we're at. What do we do next? And so those 2 ways, but go into our website, the truit.io, on our contact us page is also my calendar as well. So any one of those websites work, and our phone numbers there and all of that.
Wonderful.
What a great offer.
Yeah.
We would definitely recommend people to look into that and book a session with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then the only other thing that we talked about earlier was we also have I'm also part of a podcast. So we have on Facebook, you can look us up. It's called the Business and Bytes, BYTES podcast. And we actually have a segment, we're mainly focused on entrepreneurial stories and tips. And how do you we talk about marketing, we talk about a whole bunch of different topics with business owners. So it's another fun resource that we love doing as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for coming on the show, John. It's been such a pleasure having you here, and I think you've given so much advice to our listeners. So many things to think about, actually. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
You're
thanks for
welcome.
making us think about the things that we don't necessarily want to have to think about, but
Yeah,
You
exactly.
come up with a plan and it's not as scary. That's the lesson.
yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for making it easy. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm Gita Adkar.
And I'm awesome, Angie Engstrom. And thank you all for listening. Keep your momentum, keep moving forward. And if you want to learn more about what Geety and I do with Elite Virtual Stages and how we help businesses scale using virtual events, you can find us on Facebook and the web at elitevirtualstages.com/report and learn how we're helping businesses grow using virtual events, 6 and 7 figure days. It's pretty crazy, John. So thank you for joining us today, John. And yeah, keep your momentum, keep moving forward, everybody.